The Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird, made in the Soviet Union. I mean, literally made from stuff that came from the Soviet Union. So you see, the Americans back in the late 1950s urgently needed titanium to build an aircraft that could fly at speeds of Mach 3 and beyond. To fly at such great speeds, you'll need to fly at high altitude where the air is less dense, which reduces the air friction or drag that will heat the skin of the aircraft to several hundred degrees. So the SR-71, combining great speed plus altitude ceiling plus a stealthy low radar cross-section, would grant the US Air Force the valuable capability of being able to go at Soviet air defences on a regular basis. The supreme irony of this Cold War episode that would totally impress an old Sith Lord sitting at the opera with his future apprentice was that in order to build such an aircraft, one that could completely outdo the Russian air defences, was the need for the metal titanium, which could at that time really be only sourced from Russia, in the form of titanium dioxide, which comes in the form of rutile ore. The twin-seater SR-71 and its developmental predecessors like the CIA's single-seat A-12, same looking but shorter, and the YF-12, when fully constructed, were about 90% titanium used in their construction. So in simple layman's terms, what the US government managed to successfully achieve through the CIA and its various dodgy, backdoor, untrustworthy smoke and mirrors, low down, off the back of a truck, gypsy-style street hustle, dirty deeds done dirt cheap, cast a furtive glance around when nobody's looking, used car salesman style dealings with third parties to secretly get titanium off the Russians is vaguely comparable to, say, that time you asked the girl next door to borrow her binoculars. She was naturally rather wary, of course, and said something like, "So why do you want to do that? Why do you need them?" And you were like, "Well, because of things. Like bird watching, etc., something or other." While you scratched your nose and failed to make reasonable eye contact. Then in the coming weeks, every spare moment you had was spent quietly mouth-breathing, with those binoculars always up to your eyes, taking intermittent careful slips from your cola slushy or even slow grabs from your jumbo bucket of popcorn, whilst tirelessly staking her house out, and muttering things to yourself like, "Oh yeah, she's having another shower, and this time the frosted glass isn't obstructing the view, because she obviously wants to ventilate the bathroom, hence unknowingly and inadvertently affording me a better view." But in truth, that's completely okay for the USA, of course, yeah, because for anyone else we would call that, underhanded or despicable, etc. But as for the Americans, that's just called, like regular foreign policy any day of the week, plus a good dose of, so what you going to do about it? But as a footnote, if I had to grant them any specific concession or praise, American foreign policy has had a notable, valuable track record of overthrowing rather despicably democratically elected leaders, say in South America, then installing tyrannical dictators in their place. Good work! Or, alternatively, intervening in other parts of the world by rather rightly overthrowing tyrannical dictators to bring much-needed democracy to such oppressed regions that also happen to be sitting on vast ore deposits. Sorry, just mentioned that as an unimportant footnote. And this path to democracy is greatly helped or facilitated along by bombing the inhabitants of these countries all the way to freedom. There's heaps of people who can testify as to how effective this treatment of people is. It'd be like, "Oh yeah, man, we were in the middle of growing rice and stuff only just the other week when the Americans suddenly came through and totally shot the crap out of everything with helicopters, and then they set fire to sort of what was left, and their leader was standing there at the end and he said like, 'I love the smell of napalm in the morning.'" Pretty good bunch of people, really. But moving back to the Russian response to getting spied on, the Russians, of course, never knowingly took this kind of thing lying down. By the late 1950s, the Russian air defences were beginning to be equipped with the new SAM-2. It was the incident involving the downing of the U-2 spy plane over Russia, piloted by Francis Gary Powers, that highlighted the pressing need to build faster aircraft, aka the ones like the A-12, then eventually the SR-71, built out of Russian titanium, that could fly at sheer heights and speeds that would deny Russian air defence missiles the possibility of effective interception. It's probably worth pointing out the Wikipedia write-up on this particular incident has virtually a whole shipping container filled with cringe contained within it. Check it out sometime. But so far as testing U-2 spy planes against capable Russian air defences, this is a bit like you want to spy on your trigger-happy neighbours down the road. These people really don't like you and want you dead. They even sit on the front porch with a loaded 12-gauge shotgun, just waiting, living for the very moment that you pass by. So what you do is you borrow your grandfather's electric ride-on Gopher that probably needs its battery recharged at this point, but anyway, you go along the footpath out the front of their place on the Gopher with a pair of binoculars up to your eyes. And then you see the most exciting thing. Through your binoculars, you see this angry-looking hillbilly suddenly stand up from his old wooden rocking chair and bring his shotgun up to his shoulder, and then, well, the point being, it didn't go well for Francis Gary Powers. In fact, Gary Powers stirred up such a hornet's nest, the Russians launched enough surface-to-air missiles that a MiG-19 that was also sent to intercept was unfortunately shot down mistakenly by one of those missiles and the pilot killed. So really, retrospectively, when you see all these events and incidents laid bare, the existence of aircraft like the SR-71 and A-12 came about because of the Russians' absolute determination to protect the sovereignty of their airspace. Then, that determination was successfully undermined by the building of an aircraft out of materials that came from the very country that eventually was denied the ability to protect that airspace. The Russians never shot down an SR-71. The basic defence against interception by the SR-71 was to go faster, as fast as Mach 3.5, which is 4,321.8 kilometres per hour, or 2,685.44 miles per hour, or 1.2 kilometres a second. Alright folks, that's enough from me. Danny Futt signing out. I'll catch you next time.